Hey, what's up, guys? So we get a question in the group from Amadeus Awad. He asks, hi-hat bleed in the snare mic. What's your taming technique at the mix stage? Over 40 comments on that one, which is pretty awesome. I still yet to go through them all, but we figured we'd give you a couple of good solutions here. So
there's some really good things thrown in there. Some of them are a little bit overcomplicated.
Okay.
A lot of people really like the ideas of expanders versus gates, but I think maybe that's just because it's a more complicated, more interesting solution to say to somebody. Now, that's not me cutting down on anybody who said something like that. There are some really good uses for it, but when you're going for sheer clarity and that kind of thing, an expander gets you part of the way there because it only expands by a portion.
Right.
Gating, and actually gating really cleanly, removes it completely. Right?
We've actually got an example here that we can show off. It's a really cleanly recorded snare track. That's because it was recorded by Kenny Ashgarian, master of drum recording.
That's me.
So one of the things that's great about snare drum and metal and rock and just about any genre is that if you throw a compressor on the snare drum and you want to add character, you want to add depth, attack, release, wherever you want to add to it, it crushes that dynamic range, and it does that in a very specific way. Unfortunately, if you have hi-hat in the signal, it's going to make the hi-hat signal come up in volume, because when you reduce dynamic range, you're bringing up the noise floor, and that's what's going on in this particular track.
And in this case, the noise floor is the hi-hat.
Exactly.
Why don't we take a listen to that example? Because I'm pretty sure everybody in hard rock and that kind of stuff puts compression on snare drums.
I would agree with that.
That's a lot of hi-hat.
Right.
It sounds kind of cool,
Right.
but it's like that hi-hat becomes unmanageable.
Basically. Yeah. So what would be the first step to kind of managing this hi-hat in the snare drum?
Put a gate on it.
Put a gate on it.
It sounds like we're going to use a gate.
Maybe
a gate.
All right, cool. So is that it? We're done. We're cool. Hit play. Is it cool?
Let's see. Sounds pretty crappy. So
I guess gate wasn't the answer then. Right.
I guess the gate wasn't the answer.
Let's make it more complicated.
Yeah. First thing I would do when I open up a gate, I would first obviously drop the attack down to its lowest setting. In this case, it'd be 10 microseconds. After that, I would actually bring the ratio up much higher.
Right. I mean, with the ratio low, it's actually really just an expander, right?
Yeah. Let's take a listen to see what these basic controls have done to our snare signal. We'll raise the threshold a bit. There we go.
That's pretty good, actually.
A lesser experienced me would be like, oh, I'm done. I'd be like, yeah, okay, done, cool. And then later I'd be like trying to figure out why things are misfiring, why my gate is misfiring, why toms are triggering.
Right, and the simplest bit is if you look at the section right after this, I'm pretty sure that's still snare, right?
It is.
And
that is correct.
You can see the amplitude on it. Amplitude, my gosh, I keep saying that. The amplitude on it is way lower. So I'd have a concern that this gate might not necessarily open accurately anymore once we hit that region.
Yeah, let's take a listen to it.
Yeah. It kind of did.
It kind of did, but you could hear how the gate was reacting differently to every single hit.
Yeah. It was a little messy, yeah.
So on this gate, there's a very nifty feature in the side chain. All it really is just a high-pass filter and a low-pass filter. You activate it, and you can use this to shape the way the plugin listens to the signal that's passing through it. You can clean up the actual snare frequencies that are all bothersome, that are, you don't really want triggering this gate. You can filter them right out. I would first actually find where the snare kind of sits in the frequency range. So why don't we just bypass this right now, move it down to an insert, a different insert here. We'll just open up Fab Filter.
What we're trying to do here is trying to find the most prominent frequency within the snare, right?
That's exactly right, yeah. So what I would say, typically I kind of think of snare drums between like 350 and like 1K, 1.5K. So the reason I like the Fab Filter is you can easily just isolate frequency bands, this little feature right here. So let's just sweep this frequency band to see where the snare sits. Ooh, that's good.
There you go. Right there. That's totally the resonance of it.
Yeah, so that's about 986. So now we know where the snare is most resonant at. So we can use that when we open up our gate, unbypass it. We can use this high pass filter and this low pass filter to zone in on that frequency. Bring this up to, let's just call it 900, and we'll bring this down to like 1K. Cool. So now let's take a listen to this. We'll actually include that blast part at the end. Wow, it's super clean.
You probably pull the threshold back a tiny bit.
Yeah. Wow.
It's still pretty clean, but I'd say back the threshold off a tiny bit just to make sure you get all of that blast bit in there.
Okay.
Super clean.
Yeah, that's super clean. We should probably take a listen to the way the snare sounds with that same compressor that we applied on at the beginning. Bring that up a bit. There we go. Just absolutely crushing it.
I mean, I think that's a really efficient way to go about it. We've already determined that a gate is probably the best way to go. If you're just EQing, you're going to lose characteristics of the snare itself. Amadeus, thanks for posting your question. I hope we gave you some good information to play around with here, and enjoy it. Keep mixing.
Awesome.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Cheers.